Oh, it's captain's dream, really. It's just, it's just a real sense of calm out there when you know you've got someone that good on a wicket that's giving him a little bit of help. So yeah, it's fun, really. You can get creative with some of the field placements, knowing he's going to land it exactly where you want it to. So yeah, I thought he was brilliant over the last couple of days, bouncing through a few different plans, but just always felt like he was in control, and always felt like we had plan B, C, D that we could go to as well, but never really felt like we had to. So yeah, absolute dream.
He's flagged that he wants to keep going all the way to 2027. How much easier does it make it for the team in terms of that control that he gives if he can keep on keeping on like that?
Oh yeah, it's huge. I'd love for him to keep going until 2027. I think the only barrier really is his body. So if he looks after his body and make sure he's right for whatever it is, 10 test matches a year, I would absolutely love if he's playing until 2027. And I don't think there's much that's going to get in his way. So yeah, I already told him the day he retires, I'm definitely giving up the captaincy because it makes my life a hell of a lot easier.
Just that Pat as a captain, as a leader, when you see someone like Cameron who all of you backed a lot and very keen to bring him back into the side, give him that number one position, and he's taken in 4 innings to 10 innings like that. What does it tell you about just the backing and just for him as well to need this innings and this innings?
He was obviously fantastic. I think, he obviously scored a big innings, but I thought the way he went about it was as impressive as I've seen. I reckon that's as sharp as I've seen him put pressure back on the opposition. He was using his feet to upset the bowler's length on a really tough day one wicket. I thought it was incredibly impressive, and it's given him a good blueprint of how to play going forward as well. I think, credit to the selectors and those guys as well for not only, backing him, but prioritising Test cricket. Last week they said go back to Shield cricket and, stay in this format for a little while. Obviously he scored 100 there and set him up for success here. So, it's not really surprised of how well he performed this week. He's an absolute professional and champion, and good to see him get the rewards.
And just the bowling group, you, Mick, Josh, and Nathan, the tight group, you've celebrated a lot of bowling feats, but when you have one in that group plays longest innings in the first innings, and then Nathan Lyon top scorer at number 4, is there a special kind of celebration just before it?
I think we've been on the receiving end of a few of those innings from the opposition, so it was nice to get a couple back. We all try and put a fair bit of work into our batting, and again, we know how frustrating it can be if the opposition kind of chips away at the end. So it was great to see Joshy and Gaz play two really important innings. Joshy's still adamant number 11's a specialist position and doesn't want to budge. But yeah, that was awesome.
Nathan's got self-belief on any surface. Do you see any rise in him when he gets a little bit of bounce, gets a look at something like that? Do you see just a slight different edge to him?
He's even keener to bowl. He's already, as soon as Starkey and Joshy bowled their first over at each end, he's coming up to me asking when he's coming on. So that's great. I love, I feel lucky that just about every bowler in our team's like that at the moment. Everyone's keen to be the match winner, and bit of spin, bit of bounce, and good luck at taking the ball out of Gaz's hand.
And just on the batting, appreciate a very different surface that you see that by the Stalwarts, but there were some shots I imagine some guys would rather have back. Is there any discussions about that post-game, just being a little bit more ruthless in that third innings, perhaps? Something that gets talked about?
Yeah, I think so. There's been a few games over the last couple of years where we just, had the opposition right where we kind of want them, and probably just gave them half a look back into the game. So absolutely, I think it's something we can get better at. The whole 11 batters, particularly around that third innings, where the game seems to speed up a little bit. I think we can, when we're at our best, especially at home, it's that ruthless, setting them 600, 650. So I think we can, something we can look at.
The 10th wicket partnership's pretty special, enjoyable to watch. Did you sense it had a bit of a demoralising effect? What do you think that does to him?
I think it does. And again, I feel like we've been on the receiving end of that a couple of times, but ending day one where it felt like the game was in the balance, and then suddenly you're putting an extra couple of spells into the bowlers, you put another 100 on the board, it suddenly feels like you're starting your second innings well behind. So it's really crucial above just the runs you put on there. It's the whole, I think, psyche of feeling like you had a grasp on the first innings and it suddenly got away from you.
Not to be overly critical, but is Marnus under pressure for his place? I think it's 6 days in a row. Obviously, like Christchurch.
Yeah.
Where's the pressure coming?
Absolutely not. I think he'd be the first to admit he'd like to score some more runs, and it's not through lack of trying in the nets. I think particularly that second innings, just one of those ones down leg. We're very clear that these 6 guys are the 6 best batters in Australia, and although at times might not have clicked all together at once, the story of our team has been someone's been able to stand up when they need to. So really, everyone's going well.
Just on what you said before about third innings, is it a little bit about, like, obviously you want guys to be themselves and play their own way, but there are sometimes, I guess, scenarios where, I guess there's a team imperative in terms of the lead, and that might mean making adjustments to your own kind of batting style for a scenario?
Yeah, I think playing your own way is taking in the information that you want to. That you need to take in, assessing the conditions and then building your game plan around that. It's not this is how I'm going to play in all conditions. So I think just that, adapting, playing the rhythm of the game, making sure that we're always controlled. We want to rush the game, that's because we want to rush the game. The game's getting quick. If we need to suck it up for a little bit, absorb the pressure, you just got to do what needs to be done. So I think we can just manage those tempos a little bit better.
And just in terms of Cam, Tim Southey was, he's read the rhythm of the game really well.
Yeah, I thought he had really clear game plans. So he used his feet, was going to put pressure on the bowlers, but he picked his balls. He left well. He ducked when he needed to duck. And I thought he just played it beautifully, sucked up the pressure for 4 balls and then, across to Joshy for the last couple. So I thought it was a really smart way he went about it. And scoreboard didn't stop either. So.
Pat, you touched on Cam and that importance of those runs in Tassie in the Shield game, and then also Nathan just ensuring his body remains right. But them as 2 guys who do play Shield cricket in the lead up to this, how important is that generally, and how tricky are some of those conversations and decisions going to be in the coming years, given the all-format nature of cricket and ensuring you prioritise Test cricket and the preparation for it?
Yeah, it's not a new problem. Whatever you do, there's always a trade-off. So, Joshy, Starkey and I haven't played much Shield cricket over the last 3 or 4 years, but we've played a lot of international cricket. For other guys, they've been able to prioritise some red ball cricket because they're not in the Aussie one-day setup. So it's always tough. Not everyone's always going to agree with how you do it, but I guess it's nothing new. Yeah.
I know you've had tour matches, for instance, for a long time. You see these guys perform well in the back of very recent red ball cricket. Does it give any sort of a try to squeeze in a game here or there when you can?
I think we're always balancing the short term and the long term. So whilst a tour match might set you up for that next game, we're already playing 100 days of the year, 120 days of the year. So again, like anything, there's always a trade-off. So I think lead up to, say, World Cup or, your big test match series, is obviously that's where you're putting absolutely everything to it. But there's some times where you do need to give some other guys a go or maybe go into a series a little bit underdone. But we think over, if you zoom out over the space of 12, 24 months, is setting the team up as best as you can. Yeah, of course. I think when anyone steps into Test cricket, you think you expect them to be the finished product, but it's not true. Jump from state cricket to here is big, but especially when you're young, you're learning your craft in front of big crowds, cameras, a lot of scrutiny. So it's not easy. As best as we can try and fast track guys when they come in here and set them up. But I think he's shown himself to be a pretty quick learner in whatever he's done over the years. But absolutely, you're still learning when you step up here, and he's early 20s.
There's often talk about breakthrough innings, and I think it was said after Griggs' first century. For this one now, after he's been in the team for a while, how important in innings do you think that was for him?
I think really important. Obviously batting four, it's a little bit different. But as I said, I think the tempo of the innings was what stood out to me. Putting that pressure right back onto the bowlers on a really tough wicket. Being really busy early on. We know he can kind of spend time and build up his innings that way. I think this was a slightly different way he went about it. So he scored runs in Sri Lanka on a really tough spinning wicket. Obviously 100 in India and 100 here. He can do it in all conditions, so should be really confident. If he's ever in a rut, which I'm sure every batter goes through, and he might one day, you can always look back at this innings and get him back on where he needs to be, because, it's a good template. It did. Obviously the wicket helped a little bit. It's pretty tough to face, even when Glenn was bowling it yesterday. There's a lot of spin and bounce from a full length, so it's always pretty tough to kind of get your gloves and inside edge out of the way when it's like that. Yeah, potentially. Same conditions, then absolutely. He's a class player, Kane, so he's seen it all before, so we might need to throw a few different things at him.
But just on Nathan Lyon, he said that it was your call to start him from the descent today, and I think he walked over. Was it just the wind, or what was the rationale for that?
Yeah, just the wind. So just wanted to see Starkey could swing a couple with the wind. Kind of switched around from yesterday, but knowing that we could always just switch back to it pretty quickly. So pretty much went as we thought it might. Straight back down to the other end.
Tim said that Will Orr's going to be assessed after his hamstring injury yesterday. He's sort of half left the door ajar for Neil Wagner to come back. How would you feel about that? And if you were them, would you do it?
World's shortest retirement. Why not? If he's your next best bowler you think is going to perform, then go for it. So, we've faced him before, so be good to see. He's high energy. It's been good fun chatting to him each morning out here. So, see how it goes.
So actually, last one. Everybody else we talk to wants this to be a 3-test series. When you won the trophy, like something done, would you also like Australia New Zealand series to be 3 tests? Two tests always just seems like a funny number, doesn't it? So in an ideal world, a 3-test match series would be great. Obviously, there's lots of cricket around the world, so it always seems hard to fit in. But as a test lover, 3 match would be awesome.